Now, in these questions, we've been asked to round some numbers to a certain amount of SF. Now, if you're not sure what SF means, that's significant figures. Now, significant means they're important, they mean something in the number, although all numbers mean something within numbers, okay, we have more important ones than others, and you'll see what I mean in a second. Now, say we're at a concert, and this is how many people went there, 53,932. Well, if you were talking to a friend about how many people were at the concert, you wouldn't say that there were 53,932. You would come up with a number that's close to it, probably rounded to two significant figures. Now, the two significant figures thing is, well, this here, the 5 is the first significant figure, and the 3 is the second significant figure. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw a line between those, and then the 5, okay, is going to stay the same. The 3, well, what follows the 3? Well, that's a 9, so that's going to round up. And the whole point of rounding is to get a number that's close to what you started with, but just easier to say or use. So I can't just ignore those and go, well, it's 54, because 54 is nowhere near 53,932. I'm actually going to round to 54,000. That's what you'd say to your friend. There were 54,000 people at the gig. All right, so looking at the same sort of thing here, all right, we've got a 0 in there. Now, that 0 is important because it signifies the place value of each of these. Now, we're rounding to two significant figures again. So the 4 is the first significant figure, and the 0 is the second. So it's the 0, we're rounding there. So I'm going to draw a line between them. The 4 I can write down straight away. The 0 is followed by a 9, so the 0 rounds up to a 1. Can't just leave it as 41 because that's nowhere near my 4,092. I fill up to the decimal point with zeros. And that, if you were saying, well, this many people attended my local football team or whatever, okay, you wouldn't say, well, it was 4,092 with a crowd. You'd say there were 4,100 roughly, wouldn't you? And there you go. We've got a number that's close to that, but easier to say, easier to write. Now, the difference here with the zeros here is that if I know it says we're rounding to three significant figures. Well, if I was rounding to one significant figure and I was asked to round this number, well, I'd just have 0. Now, that tells me nothing about the number, does it? So actually, what we do when we have zeros at the front, and it's only with decimals that this happens, is we ignore the noughts at the front, because even though they're still important with regards to place value, they're not telling me very much about the number until we get to here. So here's my first significant figure, my second, and the 6 is my third significant figure. So I'm going to draw a line between them there, and everything that happens before that I'm going to write down. So I'll get 0.019, and the 6 is followed by a 5, so that's going to go up to 7. So that is that number rounded to three significant figures. Because even though these two zeros are important, they're not significant in the sense that they're not telling me about anything about the number until I get to the 1965. Now, finally, we've got this number, which is written in standard form. Now, the standard form bit is just this times 10 to the power of something. That'll be on another video. You can have a look at that if you're not sure about that. But basically, all we're doing is we're looking at this number here, and this is the number we're rounding to one significant figure. So the first significant figure is the 4. I'm going to draw a line there. Okay, the 4 is followed by a 9, so that's going to round to 5. Now, once again, a bit like where we filled up with zeros here, I've still got to put times 10 to the power 4, okay? And with standard form, it's much easier and more normal, actually, in a sense, to write just a whole number here rather than all these decimals, okay? So that stays the same, all right? You just round the number that's just beforehand.
So let's have a look at this one. So solve x plus 2x equals 12. So what do you think you do first?
Okay, well, I want x on its own, so I would put x equals 12 minus 2x.
Okay, so a lot of the time we want to get x by itself, but what we want to do first is get all of these x's together. So can you see anything we can do with this? Get all these together in one place.
Oh, okay, it's 3x, isn't it?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
3x equals 12. Oh, and so x equals 4.
Brilliant, spot on, well done.